everybody. It's Ms. Smith. So today we're going to talk about the law of cosines. Now, yesterday we talked about the law of sines, so that was fairly okay. But today is going to be a little bit harder because there are quite a few more letters. But once you learn it and I walk you through it, it's really not that bad. You'll be just fine. And I'm going to go through it slow, go step by step. If you get stuck, just stop the video and replay it. That's all you have to do. Okay, if you've got to replay it 20 times, then do it. Do what you've got to do to make sure that you understand it. Now remember, again, if you get stuck and you start guessing on some of the answers for a question and you're not for sure if it's right or not, just stop what you're doing. Go to Google Hangouts, that's in your email, on the bottom left-hand corner of your email, and just send me a message. Or email me, or smoke signals. I don't know, just contact me, okay? Good luck today. All right, so law of cosines. So I'm actually going to bring a picture in, and this is in your notes, but this is a great little picture that kind of illustrates the law of cosines really well. Plus it's got all three of the formulas here. Now, you see three formulas here, and you really don't need to memorize all three. Okay, so go ahead and get that out of your head right now. You don't have to do that. Okay, these formulas are exactly the same, just the letters are, finagled around a little bit. What you really need to look at is that this side, remember that sides are lowercase, remember that this side corresponds to the angle, just like we did on law of sines, that this side corresponds to the angle. So side A goes with angle A. Side B goes with angle B. Side C goes with angle C. The same thing works for law of cosines. Now before, when we were doing law of sines, they had to be, the angle on the top, the side on the bottom, and then they match that way. This time, this has to match this. Okay, again with B, this has to match this, and this matches this. All right. So let's, now something I want to point out to you is that this is cosine, cosine, cosine. So we're not using sine in law of cosines. Okay, so make sure you're aware of this when you put it in the calculator. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open a new page here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a triangle. All right, so let's get a little bit of information in this triangle. Let's say that this is, let's say that this is 27 degrees. This is, well, let's do this. 27 degrees. Let's say that this is 45 and this is 85. Okay, so technically, let's identify this triangle real quick. I have a side, I have an angle, and then I have another side. And this angle is in between the sides. So this is a side angle side. Okay, so we are going to solve for side. We're going to call this X. We'll call this angle alpha and angle excuse me, not alpha, that's angle theta, and this is angle phi. Okay, now I know I'm probably blowing your mind with all of these weird letters and whatnot. The reason why I'm doing this is it doesn't have to be labeled A or B or C. It doesn't have to. You would do whatever the heck you want. You could put fruit for all I care. As long as you know that this angle will go with this side. This angle goes with this side. This angle goes with this side. As long as you know that, then it doesn't really matter what it's called. Okay, but let's back up. I'll go ahead and label them for you just to make things a little easier. So let's call this A, B, C. So that means that this is side C, this is side B, and this is side A, just to make things a little easier for you. So I'm going to find side A first. So we have got A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared. I can't remember the formula. It's been a hot minute. Minus 2BC cosine of A. Yep. All right, and we've got a little multiplication sign there. All right, so let's go ahead and fill in what we've got. Okay, so I know that I am solving for side A. Now, this is going to work exactly the same if you were solving for another side called C or F or potato or whatever it is. It's going to be the same as long as it's out here. Whatever you're solving for, your side, if you're solving for a side, will go out here. If you're solving for an angle, it will go here, but you've got to have this side. Because remember, this has to match this, side versus angle. Okay, so let's start putting stuff into this equation. So A squared is going to stay A squared. Now B squared is going to be 85 squared plus C squared, which is 45 squared, minus 2 times 85 times 45 cosine of A. Angle A was 27. Okay, so let's start simplifying. A squared is equal to 85 squared plus 45 squared. 85 squared plus 45 squared is 9,250 minus 2 times 85 times 45. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 times 85 times 45. So that's 50 cosine of 27. Ooh. All right. Now, you have to remember that these are being multiplied. So I cannot take this and just subtract this. Can't do that, okay? Because this is being multiplied. You've got to look at this instead. Okay, so what you can do, however, is you can go ahead and put this, sorry, I got distracted. You can go ahead and put this in your calculator as a whole, and then you subtract this number from this whole thing. So I'm going to put 7,650 times cosine of 27. Now, if you haven't already checked your calculator, please make sure that your calculator is in degrees before we move forward, because you will be getting very different answers than I will. So this comes out to be A squared is equal to 9250 minus 6816.19991. Now, I am going to write all of that down because remember we talked about yesterday how you cannot round until your final answer. So this is all of the numbers that I had in my calculator. So I'm not going to round until my final answer. Now, I'm going to do 9,250 minus the answer from that one, 6,816, blah, 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 blah. I get A squared is equal to 2433.80009. Now, something that I hope you noticed by now is that this is squared, okay? So we need to get A, not A squared. So we need to take the square root of both sides. Okay, so A is equal to, so I'm actually going to do the square root of that one there, and we get 49 point, now I can round because this is the final answer. So I'm going to do, well, let's go ahead and let's do whole numbers. I know we talked about whole numbers. We'll go ahead and put 49 as a whole number. Now, some of you, I did this calculator outside of here so you didn't see my keystroke. So let's try this again. We're going to do, where is the calculator? Where is the calculator? There it is. Okay. So we're going to do, let's do 85 squared plus 45 squared. So 85 squared, okay, it's over here on this left side. Is it plus or times? I can't remember. Plus. plus 45 squared. Hit enter. There's that 9,250 number we came up with. Okay, now we can do this little section right here, 2 times 85 times 45. 2 times 85 times 45. And hit enter. So 7650. Okay, that's where this came in right here. And then now I'm going to do this whole thing, 7650 cosine of 27. So 7650 cosine of 27, hit enter. There's that 6,816 point blah, 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 blah. Oh, there we go. Okay. So then all I'll do is subtract. I know you know how to do that. So 9250 minus that number there. So 9250 minus, now check how I'm going to get out the answer right here, the 6,816 up at the top right. I just realized you probably can't see this because the top of my screen gets cut off. Hold on, y'all. Whoop. Okay, so we're going to do 7650 cosine of 27. Okay, that gives us our 6,816 point blah, 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 blah. I'm now going to do, what was that number? 9250. 9250 minus the answer from the previous question, which was that 6,000 number. So you're going to do second and then the negative sign, right, which is right to the left of the enter sign. That's enter button, so it's the negative button. But it's the second function of the negative button. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Then I get that 2433, blah, 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 blah. Now, I need to take the square root of this. So the square root is the same button that the square is on over here on the left side. It's the same button as the square is on, but I'm going to do the second function of the x squared, and that gives me that. And then I do second negative sign to put the answer in there, and then I hit enter. And I get 49, which is the correct answer. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and erase this so we can still use the same calculator, the same triangle. So side A was 49. Okay, so now we need to find the angles. Okay, so let's find, we already have angle A. Let's find angle B. So we're going to find this one right here. Let's find that one. Okay, so we need to use side B because remember we got B squared is equal to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine of B. Okay, so B squared is 85, which is equal to 49 squared plus 45 squared minus 2 times 49 times 45 cosine of B. Now B is going to stay B because we don't know the capital B, which is the angle. We don't know that yet. Oh, this needs to be squared. 85 squared. Okay, so I'm going to do 49 squared plus 45 squared because this is, well, I guess I can go ahead and do 85 squared. So 85 squared is 7225. 49 squared plus 45 squared, 49 squared plus 45 squared, 4426 minus 2 times 49 times 45, 2 times 49 times 45, 4410 cosine of B. All right, now I need to get B by itself. So let's see how much we can simplify. So remember that this 4410 is attached to that cosine B. So you're not going to subtract that to get it to go away. You're actually going to have to divide, but we'll get there. Okay. So, but I can subtract this from this. I can do that. So I'm going to subtract both sides, 4426. Okay, so 7225 minus 4426 gives you 2799. So 2799 is equal to negative cosine of B. Okay. Make sure you pay attention to this, okay? That is a subtraction sign, but that's attached to that 4410. That's attached. You got to keep it there. Now, I'm going to divide both sides by that negative 4,410. So that is going to give me cosine B equal to, so 2799. 2799 divided by negative 4410. It gives me that crazy number, negative 0.64 blah 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 blah. Okay. So it's going to give me a 2799. I'm doing this on my other calculator so I can have this next to me so I can write it down. So cosine B is equal to negative 0.6346938776. Okay. Now, remember, I need B. I don't need cosine B. So that means technically I need to divide everything by cosine. Okay? So this becomes, in your calculator, it becomes cosine, it becomes inverse cosine, negative 0.6346938776. Okay, but you can put this in your calculator fairly easily. All you have to do is find the inverse cosine function, which is the cosine button, but it's just a second function, so second cosine, and then just do second negative sign to insert the answer from the previous question. You hit enter. That rounded to a whole number is 130 degrees. So angle B is 130 degrees. So we'll go back up here. Now that actually kind of makes sense because look how big that angle is. Huge angle. Very large angle. Now, I probably didn't draw this triangle to square. Well, not to square, to scale. So it is a big angle, but so this triangle should probably actually look something more like this. But you know, I'm imperfect and don't draw perfect triangles, so you know, whatever it is. But it is a big angle. It's the biggest out of the three, so that kind of makes sense. Now, to find the third angle, super easy. You got this. 180 minus 27 minus 130 gives you 27, 130, 23. And so that kind of makes sense because these two angles are real similar. But anyway, that's how you do that. So that's a side angle side. Let's do, we're not going to do side angle. Those are ambiguous cases. You will not run into those. You'll not be asked to do those. So let's do side. Okay. Now, I've got to be careful with these because I've already tried to like make up two triangles just out of thin air and they haven't worked. So I actually had to look up some relative values. Okay, so let me see if I can draw this. Let's see if we can get it on the first go around. Okay, that is not a right angle. It's not a right angle, I promise. Let me look. Hold on. Maybe it is. It's not. Okay, it's close. It's so close. Okay. So let's get some labels on this thing. This is 9, this is 5, and this is 7. Now, this is what happens when you're given three sides with no angles. Now, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be labeled. Okay, you could do this without labeling it. Oh, excuse me. But this side goes with this angle. So let's do that one. Let's call this A. Let's call it A. This is A. Okay, let's call it A. So this means this is side A. Good enough for me. That's fine. As long as they're opposite of each other, I don't care. You do what you want. Okay, A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of A. Okay, so A squared is going to be 5 squared is equal to b squared, which is, normally we try to stay away from the hypotenuse being b. So let's just say that this is b. It really doesn't matter. You could do 7 or 9. You could do 7 squared plus 9 squared. You could do 9 squared plus 7 squared. It really doesn't matter, okay? As long as this matches this, it doesn't matter. Okay. So let's do 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 cosine of a. So 5 squared is 25. 7 squared plus 9 squared is 130. Minus 2 times 7 times 9. That's 126. Cosine of a. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get, I'm going to go ahead and subtract both sides, 130. Get it just to cancel. So that's going to give me negative 105 equals 126, negative 126 cosine of a. Divide both sides by negative 126. Cosine of a equals negative 105 divided by negative 126. Oh, dang calculator. And, oh, come on. Negative 0.833 repeating, blah, 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 blah. Negative 0.83333 repeating. Okay, now I want to put this in my calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and in this calculator, I'm going to go ahead and do, negative 105. Oh, this is not going to be negative. I didn't put a negative in my calculator. Negative 126. So this is not going to be negative. That is my mistake. Okay, because, you know, these are both negatives, so my answer will come out positive. But I wanted to get this 0.8333333 in my calculator, because I then got to do second cosine and then second negative sign to put the answer from the previous question in there. We get an angle of, rounded to the nearest whole number, 34. So A is 34 degrees. So that's going to be this angle here, 34 degrees. All right, let's do this again, but let's try another angle, because once you get the third one, then you just subtract from 180 and it's fine. But let's go ahead and do another angle. So let's shoot for angle C. I like that one. Let's do that one. So it's going to be C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. So C squared is, okay, if this is angle C, that means this is side C. So C squared is 9 squared equal to A squared, which is 5 squared plus B squared, which is 7 squared minus 2 times 5 times 7 cosine of C. That's a 9, not A. So 81 is equal to 25 plus 49 minus 2 times 5 times 7. I think it's 70. 2 times 5. 70. Oh, excuse me. 70 cosine of C. So then I'm going to simplify. This is going to be 81 is equal to 74 minus 70 cosine of C. Subtract both sides by 74. 81 minus 74 is 7. It's equal to negative 70 cosine of C. Divide both sides by negative 70. So 7 divided by negative 70 is negative 0.1. The cosine of C is equal to negative 0.1. Calculator, C is equal to, so I'm going to do second cosine negative 0.1, enter. 96 degrees. Remember we said it was real close to being a right triangle. It was really close. So 96 degrees. Okay. And that's this one. This one's 96. So now we just do 180 minus 96 minus 34. And that is 50. Now, this doesn't look like 50. That looks more like a 25 or so because I didn't draw the triangle to scale, but it's fine. Anyway, the process is still the same. The triangles that you'll have on your practice problems and on your quiz will be to scale, so you'll be fine. Okay, if you have any questions, you know where to